It's the Michigan Football Report. I am James Yoder. Let's jump into some questions to start today's show. This one coming from Josh Sherwood. He wants to know basically 2023, 24, 25 recruiting classes. How do they compare to the prior 3-year cycle, 2020, 21, 22? Are we finally seeing our success on the field show in recruiting? And can Michigan join Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State in the recruiting rankings? Guys, the Michigan Football Report is presented by Manscaped. We're going to dive into that question and a bunch more on this football program here in a moment, but did want to remind you guys to use promo code GOBLUE, no spaces, at manscaped.com. Get 20% off their amazing, best ever male grooming products. It's the Michigan Football Report. We are going to take your questions in this mailbag here on Easter Sunday. Welcome into the show. Let's dive into it. We will talk your questions all coming up in the Michigan Football Report right now. If you haven't yet, follow me on Twitter. It is at James Yoder. I always like having more Michigan fans because, I don't know, for some reason, a bunch of Ohio State fans follow me from time to time, and them and Michigan State fans gang up on me in the comments, or in the replies. So I need your support. So it's at James Yoder. I tweet something about Michigan football basically every single day, sometimes more than that. But how about getting back to Josh Sherwood's question? Basically, how can we compare this class, the last class, the next class, to the prior 3 years when Michigan was losing to Ohio State, coming off bad momentum at least in 19 of the 20 class, didn't have a game in 2020, and then coming out of the COVID year. Let's go back and take just a walk down memory lane here. So going back the last 6 years, 2023, 17th ranked class. That's the one class we'll look back and say, wow, Michigan should have had a little bit more momentum. But a lot of those recruitments in that class started in 2020 when they were, sophomores in high school, et cetera. And Michigan just didn't have the momentum, that plus NIL, and they weren't playing the pay-for-play game. 2022, number 9, okay, pretty good class there. 13 in 2021, number 10 class in 2020, and 2019, they were number 9. And then coming off the 5-loss season in 2017, 2018 class, which signed in December and then February of that fall, were the number 22 class, the worst of Jim Harbaugh's time at Michigan. So the biggest takeaway I have right now is the fact that Michigan has 8 4-stars already in this class sitting here the first week, beginning of the second week or so of April, is a very good sign because past classes, right? Just think about the last 3 or 4 classes for Michigan. They have not started very strong. It's been kind of a blitz of recruitments that sometimes come in the summer. Sometimes they get 4 or 5 in that mid to late July when they have things like barbecue in the big house and others. But we think back to 2020. If you guys followed me on Twitter back then, I was absolutely roasting former Michigan recruiting coordinator, director of player personnel, Matt Dudek, because Michigan went like a year without a single player committing from like May of 2019 to like April of 2020. So nearly a year without a player in that 2021 recruiting class committing. It was an absolute disaster, but they picked things up as time went on. So if Michigan can kind of have this early success in 2024 class, already off to a pretty decent start in 2025. If they can keep that momentum rolling, we still have 8 months until the initial signing day in December, 10 months until the February final signing day. This could be a class that ultimately has 15, 16, 17 4-stars. So I think the answer at the end of the day, a long-winded answer is yes. I think NIL, Michigan's delivering the right message. They're not going to pay for play, promise, but they are going to allow players to talk to recruits about what they're getting once you're at Michigan, once you're a starter. No promises can be made, at least how Michigan's operating right now, but that is really resonating with certain players. So that is kind of the ranking. I think that Michigan will have a top 10 class at worst, and that's where they've been, right? You go back and look at those rankings, that's where Michigan's been. Around 10 range has been where they've been since Jim Harbaugh's been the coach, but I think this class has the potential to be up there 5, 6, 7. Heck, 1 or 2 things go their way, maybe even a top 3, 4 class when all things are said and done. If you're watching our show for the first time, you better be hitting that subscribe button as we continue the trek towards 27,000 subscribers. This is the most watched Michigan football program on any platform, most listened to as well. Bigger audience than any podcast, TV show, radio show, or other YouTube channel in the entire United States. Fun fact, Jack, more Americans get their news from the Michigan Football Report than any other nationality. How about that one? How about that stat? That's a hell of a stat there for this show. Next question from Younger Harbaugh. talk to me about Michigan in 2024. This has been a hot topic. I did a Twitter Spaces like 2 weeks ago talking Michigan football 2024 after J.J. McCarthy, after Donovan Edwards. Should we be prepping for a really bad season? It's tough to say. All right, we're going to dive into that question. My keyword, I keep saying the word dive, here in a second. Tell you all about what to expect after the 2023 Michigan football season. But did want to tell you about the presenting sponsor of the Michigan Football Report, and that is Manscaped. Trust me, guys, you all need to be Manscaped customers. If you're rolling with a wild jungle of hair below the waist, you just look smaller. If you get my drift, right? You're not getting the length that you need. Visuals are a thing. Judge a book by its cover is what I was already told. And trust me, your bedroom partner really wants to say something about it if you're just kind of letting things go wild down there. So don't let the things get awkward. Gentlemen, if you didn't know, it's tax season here in the U.S. And you know what that means? It means that Manscaped is here to make sure your paperwork is done and your boys downstairs are having fun. Make sure to spend your tax return money on the important things like family, friends, and ball deodorant. Join the 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com. Use 20% off and free shipping by using promo code GOBLUE. No spaces, that promo code GOBLUE. The link is down in the comments and the description of today's video. I'm a huge fan of Manscaped. It's all over my bathroom at home. It's the beard hedger. Trim that bad boy up. I also have Manscaped body wash, Manscaped shampoo and conditioner. I've got the ball deodorant. I've got the Lawnmower 4.0 to trim up below the waist. I even got the nose. I'm getting a little older. The nose hairs, ear hairs. Manscaped has products for every need you have if you're a guy in the bathroom. Hell, they even got deodorant, so check them out, manscaped.com, promo code GOBLUE. Let's get back to the question from younger Harbaugh. Talk to me about 2024. It's looking like a bad season. It's an interesting conundrum because Michigan brought so much back in the 2023 class. So many guys that could have gone to the NFL. Blake Corum, among many others. Even Cornelius Johnson, how Roman Wilson could have left if he wanted to. Several offensive linemen, several guys on defense, etc. My thoughts are it all boils down to one J.J. McCarthy. If he makes a return, I think Michigan is deep enough at offensive line that they'll make things work, even if Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum leave after this season, which I think you've got to believe is likely. On defense, I'm not really sure I am worried about it as long as Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter are running the show. I think even though Michigan will lose quite a few guys, they'll have probably their starting cornerbacks both returning in 2024. Most of the defensive line, right? Mason Graham, Derek Moore will be there. Ernest Hausman will return for 2024. So I think Michigan will be in a good spot. The difference between a potential 7-5 season with Jaden Davis starting at quarterback, 8-4, and another run in the Big Ten title or a college football playoff appearance again in 2024, I think it's just going to come down to J.J. McCarthy, whether he returns or not. A great quarterback can cover up a lot of warts, can ramp up new and talented receivers or receivers that just haven't played a bunch. If you have that quarterback starting for his third year, that's all what it comes down to. But either way, McCarthy comes back or he doesn't, and Michigan kind of has to rebuild in 2024 with a new quarterback. I think with this 2024 recruiting class as of now, and what we've seen the success in 23, some guys in 2022, I think if you look forward to that 2025 season when Jaden Davis would be a sophomore, all the talent Michigan will have, it'll rival the 2022 team at worst, and Michigan will reload, and they'll be on path for another run in 25, 26, and obviously, hopefully beyond. And that's kind of what we're thinking here, going beyond 2024, beyond 2023. I really hope Jim Harbaugh is in it for the long haul because the last two off seasons have been kind of tiring, kind of maybe disrespectful in a little bit, right? Jim Harbaugh might want to go to the NFL, and that's the case, but he seems to want to say, "Hey, I looked around, but I'm here at Michigan. I'm going to be the coach of Michigan. I'm going to be I'm going to be here for the long term. I want to be here as long as you want me here." Then don't go looking for a job next year. The second those rumors come out, squash them completely. Don't talk to them at all. Because if it just comes down to, hey, I'll be your coach until somebody finally offers me the job, I think eventually it'll catch up to Michigan. Although the last 2 years, he has seemed to kind of keep things together and just keep getting better as a coach. But if he sticks around and there's no more looking at the NFL every offseason, I think Michigan, outside of maybe a quick blip in 2024, 3, 4, 5 losses, 2025 and beyond, the program is looking very talented, especially with Jaden Davis locked up as the quarterback of the future. So if you agree with me, if you're liking what you're seeing from recruiting, if you're super pumped about this 2023 season, give me a Go Blue down in the comments. I'm pumped up. I can't wait. Can't believe the season is still, 5 months away, less than 5 months away till Michigan kicks off in the Big House. Labor Day weekend, Saturday afternoon in Ann Arbor. Question coming in from Cade Wacknamara. How will running back usage, I'm laughing at the name, it's funny, how will running back usage be divided up this season, right? Some of the two guys, the big elephants in the room. If you saw last Friday's live show, I broke down this a little bit, but I think Michigan needs to be very, very, measured, and they know what's to have Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards on a pitch count, because what happened last year, you overworked Blake Corum. I'm not saying that's what causes injury, but I'm not saying that. Donovan Edwards continuously has had injury issues throughout his career at Michigan. I think they need to get Corum 18 to 20 carries a game. I think they need to get Edwards about 12 to 15 carries in that range per game. Don't overwork either one of the guys, but then you got to make sure Donovan Edwards gets 5 catches a game, which seems like a lot, and it is a lot for a running back, but I do think that Donovan Edwards all in could be Michigan's best wide receiver, in addition to being probably their best running back, or if not, 1B to Blake Corum. Let's take a look at their stats here, Jack. We have them from last season, 2022 stat comparison between these two players. Corum got 247 yards, 247 carries to Donovan Edwards, 140. 1,500 yards basically for Corum, 1,000 for Edwards. Edwards averaging 7 yards a carry is quite the feat. 25 touchdowns combined between them is the stats they had in 2022. We'll talk more running backs in a second, but I'll ask you guys this question. Scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the future of Michigan football? Now they've locked up Jaden Davis. The 2023 season's in front of us. I'm okay with a quick down year in 2024 if it happens. So I'm putting myself like a 9.9 or something like that right now. If a few more of these recruits end up coming to Michigan that we think they're going to get in the 2024 class, and hell, if you land a big-time 2025 kid here in the next future, I could just be on tilt right at a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. But you guys let me know down in the comments. I do think the proper use of Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards this season could be the difference between a national title or not having a national championship. And what do I mean by that? Well, one, don't overwork one guy. Don't have one guy get injured. Number two, use them to their strengths and don't isolate it where it's either Corum or Edwards, or, hey, we're putting in Edwards. We know what the play is going to be. We all know what we're talking about. Some guys in the game, like an A.J. Henning a few years back, Giles Jackson, oh, God, that guy's in the game. We know it's going to be reversed or something like that, kind of predictive play calling. Michigan inside the 5-yard line was brutal when Blake Corum was in the game this year, right? Even against Ohio State, it took J.J. McCarthy just slamming himself into the Ohio State defensive line to be able to score inside the 5. Last year, the TCU game, they didn't have Corum, and what happened, right? 2 times inside the 2-yard line, Michigan came away with no points early on in that game. So got to have both guys in the field at times. Got to make sure both guys are healthy, and I do really believe that you've got to have both players on some sort of pitch count where you're not overworking one of them and also keeping them both happy. So if they do that, which I'm hoping that's a big part of the game plan this offseason going into fall camp in August, Michigan's aspirations should be national title or best, at worst, making an appearance in the game in Houston. Last question on today's show from Edward Sanchez is, what players have underperformed in spring practice, with the spring game being last Saturday? Have led to conversations. I don't want to focus on the negative here, because I used to do that a lot on the show back in 2018 and 2019 when Michigan was losing to Ohio State and coming in games underprepared. I didn't like the direction of the program. Tough to complain about things right now, but I'll name 2 players. Junior Colson on defense. Right, he was injured towards the end of spring practice. Maybe he didn't get enough time, enough reps there, but he should have been Michigan's best player on defense last year. Wasn't. Obviously, plenty of guys jumped ahead of him. Mike Morris, Mazi Smith, Mike Sanderstill, even Will Johnson by the end of the year were performing at higher levels. But I wouldn't say it's a certain thing that Junior Colson is a starter for this team this entire year, right? After his freshman year, people were saying, oh, he's a first-round pick after his third year, after the 2023 season. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but maybe it's just an injury bug, and he'll be back to full strength after disappointing spring and kind of a disappointing 2022 season. He didn't really break out and become a true superstar. On offense, I thought Darius Clemens was a for sure starter. Now, there's some nagging injuries that other players have played through that kept him out from time to time. But as of now, coming out of the 2023 spring practice and the spring game, he's not a starter right now. Darius Clemens on offense at wide receiver is not a starter. I think his classmate Tyler Morris may have jumped him. And Michigan might just be relying on tight ends a little bit more too given that their third, fourth wide receivers, haven't really shaked itself out. Tyler Morris kind of in there at the number 3 spot as things look now. But those are the two names that I'm going for right now. Junior Colson on defense, Darius Clemens on offense. We will be back this week with some more Michigan football content. I think we're going to do that live show. We told you a couple Fridays ago, the Jaden Davis Live, that we would do another live show because of the great response to that one. So Jack and I will figure out a day. What we think, Jack? Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Maybe Wednesday of this week, we will do a live show. We're going to break down the offensive depth chart, the defensive depth chart, and dive more into the latest news and rumors around Michigan football recruiting. Until then, enjoy your Easter. Go Blue.